to look after my mental health is I actually took off from social media a week off, and I purposely announced that this is for my mental health. I'm taking off from social media. Yes, I'm still working for my clients online, but I can still turn off my social media. I don't have to be there online. And the other great thing I did for my mental health is I actually went to walk every day. I walked with my family. I walked with my kids outside for an hour or 2 hours. And I kind of explored the nature in my city.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be a great one. Our returning guest is the owner of the accounting training firm, Accounting by Sal, and she is passionate about teaching business owners how to effectively manage their finances. Sal Rezai, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Michael, for having me. I'm excited to share my knowledge with the audience.
It's great to have you. And, I definitely loved your last episode. And I would encourage all of our listeners listening right now to go back and listen to Sal's previous episode. But Sal, let's get caught up. Why is right now the perfect time for bookkeeping and accounting firms to become better and stronger?
I think at times of crisis and adversity, clients and customers are looking to us for reassurance and inspiration and courage. So it's really important for small business bookkeepers and CPAs to, be a guide for their client and really help and advise their clients through the storm and crisis.
Absolutely. And what's your experience been? I mean, it's been an interesting time the last couple of months going through coronavirus, COVID-19. And what have you been seeing in terms of how people are reacting and dealing with things?
I think people are really in a panic mode, and they just kind of, some of the individuals and business owners that I know personally, they're really panicking and they're not really, reflecting on their purpose and brand and why they start the business. So I think my advice would be they really need to think stronger and be better and really start thinking strategically and planning and strategically planning and have some implementation and maybe, bring another partner, or they should have actually bring another partner and be really accountable for their business or firm.
Yeah, so in a way, getting out and communicating with someone and partnering with someone to help navigate through this.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think they need to be critical thinkers as well. So as a bookkeeper or firm owner or, as a small business owner, you really need to think critically and, ask yourself some tough questions and see if you have the answer and look back at your brand and mission statement and see if you have the answer. Maybe, what I actually realized is there are a lot of firms that they do have the answer, but it's just that, they create a mission statement and then they just leave it and they never look back. So it's time for us to kind of go back and really, look at our mission statement and dust it off and see what is it there for us.
I love that. And I think it is difficult during times like this where there's, huge shifts in the way people are doing business and impacts, every business industry is being impacted differently. But you can lose sight of things, and you're absolutely accurate in terms of going back to the core of why you started the business and what your purpose is and what the mission is, and that can bring back that powerful context.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the questions you really need to ask that, has there been enough emphasis on firm growth or the profitability side? I mean, they just continue to work on one thing and on, but they never actually, ask themselves the questions, did we really talk about, firm growth? And is there sufficient leadership in the business as well? So that's the biggest question right now. I mean, everybody's looking to their accountant and bookkeepers for leadership and for advice.
Yes, absolutely. And for you, how did all of this? What's the journey been like since things went down into lockdown and through COVID-19? What's it been like for you? How have you personally? What phases have you seen yourself go through?
So for me, to be honest, I mean, the crisis was just an opportunity. I mean, when the COVID-19, I mean, in a matter of a week, everything changed. I mean, look at all these schools. I mean, in a matter of, a day or two, the operation has changed. I mean, people that were technically going to their clients, their offices, I mean, they had no choice to, operate online. So for me personally, I mean, I really didn't take it really didn't make much of an impact, because for me, I looked at on the opportunity side. I'm like, you know what, okay, things that I really wanted to do before that I couldn't. So I was like, okay, let's take this opportunity and do them now. So one of the things for me was I always wanted to give my clients extra time and, really create a budget for them, because a few of my clients, they were struggling with their payments. So there were suppliers' payment were due 60 days, and they weren't really taking their invoicing serious, because I think there was enough funds coming to them from their other clients and service, that the funds that, they were providing, the services that you were providing to their clients, their invoices were just sitting and they were never following up with their invoice. So for me, one of the biggest opportunity was to spend some time with some of my clients that they were really impacted by COVID, and really come up with a budget and create a budget for them. So now I have a client that he has a budget, and he's saying, okay, within 60 days, I'm going to pay all my suppliers, and I'm going to collect my payments within 30 days. So he has enough money to pay their suppliers. But not only that, what we also did is, first he came up to me and he's like, okay, I really want to give discount to my client. I'm like, no, I think the better way should be is to really create a payment plan. And when you create a payment plan, you propose it to your client, and if it's working out, very well, and move forward. So, I mean, we create a payment plan, it's working well for his clients. And the other thing we did is the services. I think a lot of services that I wasn't providing before that I'm providing now, that helps me a lot. So it's like crisis worthy, but and then on the same time, I'm still in business. So that's what I like, to take opportunity of the crisis, not to kind of, let it waste.
Well, they're good for you. Mentally, did it impact you? Some people, when they're faced with change, they go through different phases: fear, worrying, and it can affect everyone differently. How did you find that was for you? You went right to the opportunity, but did you find that you had to get through fear or uncertainty yourself?
I think one of the fear I had was my health, personally, my mental health. I mean, I had a client I was talking in April, and he's like, well, it didn't really impact you because you always worked online. I'm like, no, because my kids are home now, and they're doing online school, and it's a challenge. But then I'm also not willing to go and network anymore and meet my clients in person if I wanted to. I mean, I had this, pleasure and this opportunity to go meet and work from my client's office, but I can't do that anymore. So what I came up with, I mean, I still continue, working online 100%, of course, but on the same time, what I did is to look after my mental health. Is I actually took off from social media a week off, and I purposely announced that this is for my mental health. I'm taking off from social media. Yes, I'm still working for my clients online, but I can still turn off my social media. I don't have to be there online. And the other great thing I did for my mental health is I actually went to walk every day. I walked with my family. I walked with my kids outside. outside for an hour or 2 hours. And I kind of explore the nature in my city. So that's how, I kind of saved myself from, being impacted with the crisis. But that was the biggest fear I had, was my mental health.
Good for you, taking care of yourself and great action plans. I mean, I have my health has actually improved because it actually happened in a strange way, in that I'm a beaver leader. My son is 4 years, just turned 5. And so this past year is his first year's in the Scouts program, and he is a beaver. And so I became his beaver leader. Well, there's a few other friends in the community that they all became their fathers, so Matthew's friends, their fathers became beaver leaders. And so we were chatting and keeping in connection through WhatsApp, which is a chatting app. And we're just, sort of going through this together. It's, okay, we're not going to Beavers anymore. How are things going? And, we became friends through our sons and through the Beaver Leadership Program. And we all decided that we would do 20 push-ups a day just to keep active. And yeah, it just, and then we said, well, we'll add 5 every week, 5 more push-ups. So it actually created a behavior, a routine of actually doing exercise every day. And now that's turned into a 30-minute exercise routine that I do every single day. And we keep in touch. We hold each other accountable, and we joke around, and we send videos of our, doing it with our kids and these different things. But it really has helped us keep connected with other people, connected with our family, and also putting exercise and our physical well-being, which is a huge contributor to mental health, in place. So it's been this massive win. And actually, strangely enough, they're not bookkeepers, any of them, but they actually listen to the podcast. So they're going to be listening to this episode, and it'll be a shout out to them because they learned more about me and learned about the podcast that we do. So, there's, like you said, there is opportunity in change. There always is opportunity in change. And if we're willing to do the things we need to do to be able to take that opportunity, then we're in great shape. Now, you've talked about how firms can become better and stronger through this opportunity. What other things do they need to do, our listener need to do to be seizing this opportunity? Because we're right in the midst of it, and there's still lots of change coming and going through this, and opportunity. How do they start to take advantage of it?
I think the basic to-dos, or the basic, action they really need to take is, first of all, they need to think that, they are accountable. I think they should really take some time and reflect why they are in business, why they started the business. And if their business survives, and in the crisis time, it will thrive again for sure. And really act urgently. So, yes, we don't have time. As I said, schools, look at the schools. That was a good example. We were all going to traditional schools. Kids are going to traditional school every day, but then suddenly in a matter of a day, here in Alberta, I think Friday it was announced that, there will be no school. And then Monday, all the students were online. So what I mean by, when I'm giving the schools example is that, you need to act urgently for your business to thrive and survive. And again, look at your mission statement and see how could your brand act on the purpose and with renewed relevance in the change time. So those are the basic action and accountability as a firm owner you can take right away. And also look at your brand and purpose. So do you have a purpose-driven brand? And what I really like, what happened is urgently is look at all these alcohol companies. They actually act quickly, and they started bringing all these hand sanitizer gallons. So that's what I like about all these, companies, and those companies have real leaders, and their service and their products were crisis worthy. So you really need to kind of think back on your brand and purpose, and see if you can, bring your purpose into the future and clarifying a brand purpose. So I guess it's all about what I mean is the purpose, the brand, why did you start? Those are the basic. And then you really need to ask yourself questions, how and where to act now. Now that you have the brand and purpose, you spend some time, and you really need to now ask yourself is, now what am I going to do? Now I have a brand, I have a purpose, I've renewed my mission statement, and how and where to act now. So I think reframing capabilities is one thing. So as I said, you need to be capable to provide a service that's crisis worthy, that your business is not going down because now you have a brand new service. I mean, one of the services I provided personally was, helping my clients applying to all these government relief fund. This was the biggest challenge for a lot of business owners. They didn't know, how to answer basic questions the CRA was asking, where to start the application, where to see the information. So for me, this was a big opportunity to add the service of, filling up the application with my clients and providing this extra service. And budgeting was the other service that I was providing. And so I guess all the firms out there, they need to think to reframing their capabilities. That's what I would advise. And also, they really need to see, operation on the operation side. Yes, before we were willing to go out in person and provide service, but now suddenly we all have to, be online and be still present. So you can't really say and make an excuse and say, okay, well, no, now that it's online, I cannot do it. So you really need to accomplish the same task remotely. So you need to be capable of doing that. That's what my personal advice would be.
I like it. Now, you had mentioned another service, which is creating a budget. Not every bookkeeper helps their clients with budgeting and forecasting and figuring things out. That's definitely become a big need in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And, I would imagine that there's some skill sets and some thinking and ways of going about this that people could skill up better. You're doing
Yes.
it. Was this an area that you'd already had some experience doing that work? How would people take that on?
I think people were always talking about cash flow and budgeting and, all these fancy words, but they never actually sat down and spent some time to really see how, budget will look like. I mean, for me, I have previously, when I had clients, they were like, okay, can we work on my cash flow? And I always actually send them to all these third-party apps and saying, okay, look at this app, but they're actually helping you create cash flow and they integrate with your accounting system as well. But now that I actually realize, my clients can't afford to pay for the third-party apps to do their cash flow for them or budgeting. So what I did, as I said, you need to act quickly. So for me, it was the same scenario. I needed to act quickly and sit down and learn the basic budgeting in Excel. And then QuickBooks Online actually offers budgeting as well. So I had to actually go to, QuickBooks and kind of do a sample company for myself quickly and see how it works. So that's exactly how I help one of my clients create a budget in QuickBooks using the basic QuickBooks functions. And for one of my self-employed clients, we used Excel. Yes, it's a bit of work, but at least I kind of got up there and, I was like, okay, this is the tool. It's free. We can spend some time. We can act quickly. Yes, it's a bit time consuming, but at least it's there and it's working. So yes, we're hopefully thinking in the next 6 months or so, once, things are a bit normal, then we can actually take all our budgeting into an actual system that it makes our life easier.
So wonderful. You do what you can and you do what your resources have. There's always a better way to do it for sure, but those come with other costs. But getting it done and getting it done fast is what they needed. And so I think that's a big piece of dealing with and mitigating risk is you've got to just get it done and move, right? Because forward motion in a crisis is important. And so I'm sitting here listening to your story and these two clients that you've mentioned. I mean, how lucky are they to have you in their corner, right? And that goes for every listener right now listening. you maybe don't even know how valuable you are, how important you've been through this for so many of your clients. And I really feel for the clients out there that don't have a great bookkeeper in their corner, looking out for them, pivoting quickly, doing the things that you're doing, Sal, to help them navigate through this, because, both of these sound like small businesses, solopreneurs, that sort of thing, but that's their livelihood. That's what they're feeding their families and taking care of their livelihood with. What a great contribution to our community. Yes. So I'm always just reminded, and that's why I love what I do, is that I get to work with people like yourself and hear these stories of how you're helping small business, thrive even through crisis. I think this has been a great opportunity on many. Obviously, it's horrific in so many ways with people's lives and things being turned over, and there's as many unfortunate and sad stories out there. But there's also, with change, opportunity, and I think it's an opportunity to help businesses become stronger, more financially empowered around their finances. And I am committed that happens. Our listeners, you, Sal, and the rest of our listeners right now, as we keep moving this forward motion of being an asset to your clients and working on things like forecasting and things like cash management and what the future holds for them. I mean, I'm reminded of the QuickBooks conference last year was called Owning the Future, right? Well, wow, was that ever a
there it is,
this is it, right? You're helping them own the future through in a situation where it's not just a nice thing to own the future, it's a needed thing to own the future. We need to know what's happening tomorrow. And so great stories. And I know there's thousands of great stories from our listeners listening right now, Sal. So, let's maybe pivot into talking a little bit about this for how you have dealt with working remotely. You've said a few things about cutting out social media for a time, taking walks, and taking care of your health and well-being. What other best practices are there to working productively from home?
I think working from home, one thing I've always experienced is you need to cut the distractions around, yourself. For example, I have many people sitting, I've experienced people sitting in front of a computer and really touching their phone or doing something else, or, kind of browsing on social media or looking at maybe reading an article suddenly. So you need to kind of prioritize your day and say to yourself, okay, how am I going to start, my day? What am I going to do first? Yes, you need to take a break. Yes, you need to, go for a walk in the middle of the day. I mean, for me, one of the refreshing way would be in the middle of the day, I would just go for a walk and take some fresh air. And when I come back, I'm fresh and I'm not really stressed out and just looking, in the computer, but not really accomplishing anything. So you need to have those websites or links or browser and softwares open that you're actually working. And what I usually do is ahead of time, I look at my schedule and I plan my day. Yes, I mean, I don't believe on the balance. Like a lot of people say, well, you know what, you need to balance out. No, I don't, because I go through challenges. The other day I was in the call. Often my kids are coming and asking me questions. No matter how many times I tell them that, I'm in a very important call right now. Do not come to the room. But they still come and they're like, oh, I have a question. Yes, we all go through this. Majority of us that are, parents and we're working from home, but we can still accomplish a lot. So I guess my tip is to get rid of distraction first on your browser, around yourself, and really organize your desk. Things that you need, keep it. Extra stuff you do not. So for me, often I just go put my coffee cup down in the sink, because if it's there, it's bothering me. Yeah, so those are the stuff. And what I do, the other thing is I put my phone in silent. If it's not really urgent, I just put it in silent. I do not pick up. I let my family know that I have a client, I'm working. Please do not call me if it's not urgent. So those are some of the tips I can give. They are basic tips. A lot of us are already, using these tips. But for me, it helped me a lot when when there's less distraction around me.
It is one of those things where I think we could say that the tips are, there's some people that already have that figured out, but there's so many that maybe don't have that one particular tip figured out. And that's why hearing stories of other people's journeys like yours, Sal, can be a major win for many. And also common sense is often not practiced, right? Until you feel the pain enough and go, gee, that's a really good idea. So I really like those. And I mean, I experience that all the time with my 5-year-old, and even more so with the 2-year-old, is that they're not interested in what I want, right? They're interested in what they want. And it's like, they want to be in the office with me or doing whatever they want to do. They're going to do it. And I think it's one of those where sometimes it's difficult to do, but it's embracing whatever it is and just making it a piece of the pie and a piece of the daily work and working around it and getting used to it. I mean, I've had, doing podcasts and webinars and these sorts of things, and the kids come in and it's almost like, that's just normal. We're just going to go and roll with the punches. And it might not be productive, but from a mental standpoint, it's certainly a lot more. It doesn't create stress, anxiety. It's just like, what? Let it be. It's just let things be. And when we do that, that's better for our mental health, and we have more energy to take on the next task.
Yes, for sure. Yes. And I think when it comes to social media, for me, I had to shut down social media a few times. Yes, I'm not there every day. I used to post. I used to interact with all my clients, with my, followers. But yes, they're very important individuals in my life. I care about them, but I don't have to be there all the time. So just because I wanted to serve, and this is also for them, because I wanted to serve them better. I wanted to have a good mental health to be there and answer their questions. So I look after my own social medias, so I don't, hire third parties. So I plan my content ahead of time. I plan my, what I wanted to share, what I wanted to do. Back in April and May, I was almost like in social media because I wanted to update my clients with all the, what's happening in terms of, relief fund and stuff. But that was like a minute. That was like, 2 minutes. I had my content quickly branded, quickly created and posted and turned off the social media for another week. And I had to let my followers know that I'm going to be away. I'm going to be away from social media. If you need to get in touch with me, please email me. No other purpose, to be there. As much as I wanted to, see my other networks, what they're at. But again, we don't have to be there all the time on social media. So you can have a plan. You can have set days. When do you want to be there, or set amount of time, how often do you want to be? So I guess those are some of the tips that, I can provide to the audience.
That's very good. I like those. And I think it's about looking for if there's things that are negatively impacting us, we have to make choices, and you've made some choices and set some limits and boundaries in order to be able to be at your best. I'm curious around prospecting. You mentioned networking and getting out there, meeting new clients, these sorts of things. How are you doing that now with things being more remote and virtual?
So a few groups that I'm in right now, they actually introduced Zoom coffee meeting. So what we do now is, they're once a week, 10 a.m. in the morning for half an hour. So we log into Zoom, we just chat, we network via Zoom. And then the other way I actually network with my, networking individuals that are professionals is that I actually book coffee meetings for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. We both get, some time to talk and share. And to be honest, I've actually signed up a few clients, so I'm glad it's working. So all those groups, they're really helpful. They're all online. All we have to do is just say, we're in the coffee. We wanted to join. Register me, please. And then the moderator, she will just register you and you're set. And then she'll just post it and say, okay, you're paired up with this individual. So we just have to jump and talk.
Very cool.
It has been great. Yeah, to be honest, it has been great that I'm still in touch with those professionals that I'm networking.
Oh, wonderful. Well, it's amazing, and you're keeping connected, and that also is, I think, an important piece of our mental health. I know with my my Beaver leader group, it's been, for all of us, we've said many times over the last couple of months how big a difference it's made to feel connected and be able to share things and talk about things, not necessarily from a business perspective, but just to know that we're connecting with like people and keeping together. It's been a real value to me. So a big shout out, because some of them are listening to the podcast. So a big shout out to them for helping me get through this and being at my best, because it really has produced that. Sal, this has been absolutely wonderful hearing your journey. I'd love for you to share, if people did want to connect with you, just have you share what the best way for them to learn more about you and connect with you.
They can connect me directly via email at info@accountingbysal.ca, or they can find me on LinkedIn, on Facebook. They just have to search for me, Sal Rezai, or Accounting by Sal. I'm present. They can find out. Yes.
Beautiful. Well, we will have those links to get to you, Sal, in our podcast notes. And thanks again for coming back and being on the podcast.
Yes, you're very welcome, Michael. Thanks for your time for having me. I very much enjoyed chatting with you.
Beautiful. My pleasure, Sal. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye. And thank you for the great work that you do helping small businesses get through these difficult times now and also in the future, so that they will thrive in their businesses and make our communities better places to live. So thank you.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.